should be good.
Yeah, it's
you sort it, Dave?
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to oh, that should be on there now. So let's have a look. Just give me 2 seconds and then we'll get started. Just want to make sure we're live on there as well. I'm just yeah, which we are. It's just not come up very well on it. It's just come up with a broadcasting stream rather than like it normally does, but it's definitely there. Right. Get myself on full screen so I can see everybody. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs Non League show, and we're back for the next couple of hours, and we've got a very special show for you today. We've got 3 celebrities, and we've got 1 mega celebrity on the show with us as well tonight, and a massive welcome back, of course, and a massive congratulations. Of course, the news broke this time last week. He's back. Finally, the Winstable town manager, Mr. Keith McMahon. Congratulations, sir. It must have been a bit of a whirlwind week.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, it was. Obviously, I wasn't here. As everyone knows, I was in Spain. So when sort of I got the news, but yeah, it has been pretty busy since the news broke on Monday. But I just got to say, yeah, absolutely overwhelmed with loads of the messages I've received from obviously people out of football, and obviously a lot in football, managers and players, and obviously the supporters as well at Whitstable have been unbelievable. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Absolute great club. It bowled me over when I went for the interview, and I kept saying I was waiting for the right job to come along. I was going to be a bit patient, which I have been, and it fits perfectly for me. It's a sort of little bit of a sleeping giant. It's a proper town club with good support, and it looks like they've got a great committee backing them as well. So yeah, can't wait to actually get started.
Massive congratulations from us, mate. Well deserved, and glad to see you back. And it started a domino effect then, didn't everybody sort of started sacking managers then, didn't they? Just after you got that job, everybody was having a go.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? You wait, you sort of, they wait for one to do it. And to be fair to Whitstable, they didn't sack their old manager Lloyd. He he's a really top fella as well, and he resigned due to other issues. So. But yeah, no, there has been quite a few, and it happens, doesn't it? It's football. It's that sort of time of year where once one goes, they all start moving.
Absolutely. Of course, join us tonight on this referee special. We've got in the top right corner, we've got Scott Jackson. So welcome, Scott.
Hi. Evening, Dave. Evening, all.
Bottom left, underneath Keith and me there, he's Martin Underhay. Welcome, Martin.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
And of course, a good friend of the show and living legend, Mr. Steve Bennett, as well, is joining us as well tonight.
Hi, David.
All right, Steve.
Everyone.
So, guys, I suppose let's start with, if we can, let's just start with there's been a social media post that's been going around, especially today, I think Steve's seen it because I shared it with Steve earlier on as well, and. To be honest with you, I mean, what's your thoughts on what you saw on Twitter and that today? I'm going to start with Keith first as a manager. I mean, what was your thoughts when you saw that clip today?
Dave, it's something that has been sort of boiling up, I think, from the beginning of the season. As you know, obviously, Sod's Law, I get back into management and we do a rest show straight away. I think the referees will be going, oh my God, really? But as you know, I've always tried to help the rest, but I've been coaching an under-14 side, and in and Stephen must know, what is the Kent Youth League down here, which is a really good standard of football. And I see something a couple of weeks ago at one of my games from our opposing supporters that absolutely shocked me. And really, I thought was disgraceful. And I threatened to throw one of the, fellas out of the ground, and the abuse he gave a referee, which was a properly appointed referee, a senior ref that I've known for years as well by the league. And the fans were calling him a cheat, and we bribed him, and it was outrageous. And it was only, and they were beating us as well. It was only because we was giving them a game and they weren't used to it. And I was like, I thought we'd gone beyond this. And then I've seen other things, obviously with a Manor Farm thing today and a couple of other bits. I think it's outrageous. I think it needs to stop. But I was looking at other aspects of why, and maybe I can bring that up later on or my thoughts on it, but it just goes to show, and I think we've even seen it with the taking the knee and everything. Sometimes the respect thing and words just don't mean anything to certain people, and it is the minority. I get that, but I think maybe the FA's missed something again, or took their eye off the ball, where the most important people in football are the officials. And I've said this many a time, it doesn't matter if, at the top level, it's okay. But as you work your way down the pyramid, and especially to grassroots football, where we're trying to encourage the youngsters, there's no protection for any referee there, any youngster that's coming through. And rightly, they shouldn't need protecting, don't get me wrong. But there are the minority idiots that are just, that just can't help themselves. And I just think it's something that we really need to look at. And I'm glad the referees have come on today. I'm a bit disappointed was a couple of others that didn't. But, I think they need to speak out and say what's needed.
I mean, I see today as well, Keith, before we go on to the lads, that the Kent Youth League chairman has also come out and said that if this abuse carries on, he's just gonna stop the league. I saw that on a Twitter.
I know Ken really well, and a couple of issues happened last year, but it's certain things now. Our first league game, Dave, we got one of the referees pulled us, and he said, "Oh, just letting your two managers know that all right appealing, but if the abuse gets bad, you're going to find that you're not going to get any referees like going forward." And the last 2 weeks, 10 o'clock Saturday night, for my kids' day, we've had emails saying no referee, where we had one, where they've dropped out. Now, that's poor in itself, but you've got to look at the reasons why. For me personally, I think that referees aren't paid enough. I really do. Why does a referee want to get up in the Kent Youth League for 30 quid, which is ridiculous, for an hour and a half? And I know it's not just about money, but nowadays, it's got to be a bit of everything. And I just don't think they're really being looked after. But Ken, I've known for a long time, and he has sent out saying if they get any more, they will just stop the league, and rightly so. But as I said, we've had no referee day for a couple of weeks, and we had a young lad do it yesterday for us, and I was in his 20s to help, and he was still getting some abuse from certain people. So it doesn't matter if you've got a whistle, or you're a parent, or you're a brother. I think education is. I don't know which way to go with it anymore. Obviously, the respect thing has calmed down. It hasn't been at the forefront for a while because of obviously the racist and equality thing, which is fine. But I think we need to go back to that as well. I think that they both need to go hand in hand.
Scott, I mean, you've seen it as well yourself. I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's obviously going to be dealt with by the main FA as it's, and I've seen a few comments, people saying that the county FA has to deal with it. And just for kind of clarity, is that at that level of football, it is the FA that will deal with it. And obviously, it was an FA Trophy game. Well, I think the reason why I'm on this podcast is because you saw a tweet I put out last Sunday night. And if I'm honest, I'm sick of it. Is that every week there's either I'm getting messages or lads and girls ringing me and saying, "Do you know what, Scott? I'm done with it. I just don't need this anymore. It's not worth it." Do you know, is that, or I'm thinking of packing up. And then you speak to them through the week, keep in constant contact and say, my life's changed now. I didn't miss football whilst I was away from it. And I think that's a byproduct of the pandemic. And I was fortunate enough to carry on through it. And I don't mind saying personally, I didn't find it that enjoyable because I'm a football guy. We want fans in the stadium. It was a very sterile atmosphere, if you can even bring them two words together. It was a sterile environment. And it saddens me. And I worry that that's just going to carry on and it's not good enough.
Mine?
Yeah, well, obviously, directly to the incident, when I saw it, I know the referee personally. I know the manager. I've refereed there myself. I've played there myself. And in my experience, It's not his first time. It's the first time I've seen him like that, but to be exactly as bad as that. But if he can come at you, he will. And what I saw didn't just, I can be in that position on that pitch, and if that was happening to me, I'd be fearing for my safety with everything that happened there. What on earth the committee members coming on for? Alleged committee members coming on for, I don't know. But for him to try and attack a referee like that, he needs to be looking at himself and where his reputation has gone in the last few years, because his reputation is out there, and most people know that. Now, why he's getting involved with a referee and acting in that manner, when he knows that virtually everybody inside a football ground these days will have a video camera of some description, and there's every chance that it's going to be recorded. Why he's getting involved in that, I don't know. His best bet is to get himself in the dressing room, calm down like you should for the 20 minutes, and then go and talk to the referee. What he's done is absolutely unacceptable. For me, it's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful, and there's no place in football for it. I keep looking at the club's website and the club's Twitter feed, waiting for a statement. Now, whether they're frantically trying to put something together and spin it some other way, I don't really know. But I've heard that, can they sack him? If they were going to sack him, probably not, because he puts the money in. That's what I'm being told. However, whether that's the case or not, I don't know.
May they, Martin, have to wait for the FA to do something before they comment, just in case it, even a police thing, maybe, if the police may have got called.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, Keith. I think maybe they need to wait for the referee's report and wait for everything to come in. The pictures do speak volumes. I think we'd all agree with that one. And it is a problem that's been getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm with you, Keith, with the youth football, because I've been a coach in youth football now for 15 years, and I see it just getting worse on the side. I'm very towards my parents, if you like. They know the score. Because I'm a referee, they know the score. They know what I will and I won't have. And I absolutely won't have anything towards a referee, because like you correctly say, 9 times out of 10, the referees, they are youngsters. My son's a referee, 17. He's refereeing adult football now. He's been doing it since he was 14. And I've been waiting for him to experience the abuse, because although he's been going well and I think he's a pretty good referee, the abuse will come. And then sure enough, it did. And what I witnessed that night was possibly, apart from that video clip, was possibly the worst abuse I've ever seen towards a referee. Now they abused him because, in my view, it was easy to intimidate a 17-year-old boy. Now, this is happening up and down the country in youth leagues and grassroots leagues, week in, week out. And it has to stop, because if it doesn't stop, leagues need to shut down until these parents and these coaches and these clubs realise there is a massive problem and we need to sort this out. Because if we don't sort this out, somebody's going to get seriously hurt. That's what I think.
Steve?
Yeah, well, certainly looking at the images that you sent through today, it's very worrying. And I think when you look at that, if it wasn't for the players holding him back, you wonder what may or may not have happened. What I was a little bit concerned about was the lack of stewards that really should be going onto the field of play, or certainly from a club's point of view, to protect and ensure the referees have a safe entry off the field of play into the dressing room. So I think not only was the actions of the manager or the coach concerning, but also maybe the actions of the club in being organised enough for an eventuality like that, because these things are escalating around the refereeing, and I fear that in weeks to come we'll be talking about something far more serious unless things are done. Now, everybody has a collective responsibility. Okay, referees make mistakes sometimes, but for a reaction like that, which is totally unacceptable. One of the things that has to be done is, when situations like this occur, that referees actually think about what they're writing when they're sending their reports into the FA, because the FA can only act on what is written and on what evidence is produced. And I know for a fact that some disciplinary reports that are sent in now do lack content, let's put it that way. And for the FA to charge and to take more serious action against these offenders, then there needs to be witness statements from both assistants. Obviously, they need to go in, plus as many other people, that even in the assessor in the ground, who is in a position where he can also report. And the more weight that's put behind some of these reports, then maybe more action can be taken, stronger sentencing, away from the field of play, banned from the technical areas and things like this. And that goes for spectators as well as what we've seen in this match there. So it is a worrying trend, and it will put off people when they see these things from officiating. Where are the referees going to come from in the future? Well, again, it is worrying, but leagues have to take some responsibility for what is going on. Not only what I'm doing now, but I'm also chairman of the Orpington and Bromley Sunday District Football League. We're a respect league. We've got a bronze standard respect award as well. And we actually do something and protect our young referees, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. We've got 3 or 4 ex-referees who sit on the committee, who we set up an academy within our own league. So we always have somebody going along to the match when they're officiating, to support them, to help them during games of a lower level in our league, but they need to start somewhere. But you don't want to go out by yourself, having to fend for yourself and just get thrown into it. And I think there are many leagues who don't. Maybe we're fortunate that we've got a lot of support and bringing ex-referees in to help develop some of our younger referees coming through. We tell them that there's going to be comments, but we also warned our clubs as well in our league that we won't tolerate that type of behaviour, and if necessary, we will remove them from our competition. But you need a strong committee, you need strong people to be able to do that in order to try to get these young referees on board. We don't just leave them, to referee. We also put them with experienced referees to run a line on a Sunday morning as well. And all this support and being able to pick up a phone and talk to somebody after a game is so important. So, we've actually got lines of communication open to all our young referees on our Sunday league. And we don't want to lose them. We've lost a few referees this year for whatever reasons. And I think as a general whole, the national competition has as well. And they are short of officials all the way down the line. So, a lot more has to be done. I think we've lost over recent years a lot of referee associations with the demise of the RA, and I don't think that's helped either. There's nowhere for referees to go to maybe talk about their difficulties they're having on a Sunday or a Saturday. So I think the support mechanism around referees has disappeared. I know there's coaches here and there, but that's mainly for the upper levels of Saturday football. So, yeah, what we saw is disgraceful. I hope the referee team on that match, really sits down and thinks about what they're writing and how they're going to write it. I'm sure they will. And let's hope, I don't know whether video evidence will be accepted at an FA hearing from outside, or whether there's an official video that the FA will accept. But let's hope they do, because then hopefully some sort of action can be taken in the appropriate way. And I guess the club are not making a comment, as has been said before. They're waiting for the FA to get all the evidence together first before they actually make any comments or bring any charges.
But do you guys see the situation? I could put it getting worse. I mean, as it stands at the minute, we've seen that sort of situation. But do you actually see, unless somebody does something, if that's the FA or individual leagues or whatever it might be, or referees making a stance themselves? I mean, do you actually see this situation sort of getting worse before it gets better?
I think it does, David, if I'm honest, and is that because the behaviour we've seen is perpetuating, and we're saying, what's the deterrent? And whatever the deterrent is, as we sit here, do you know what I mean, on a Monday night in October 2021, it's clearly not enough because it's getting worse. So it's got to come, do you know what I mean? It's got to come in thick and hard. So these people are going, okay, I will not abuse a young referee or any referee of any type just because they are wearing black. So it's got to put a line in the sand to say we will be dealing with this robustly to get it out of the game.
The thing is, Dave, and I can only speak as a manager, and like I said, there'll be a lot of referees, and I know one's just commented on here that's ref me, have gone, Keith, you give us an hard time, and I do. Listen, I won't lie, but nothing. I've never been personal. I've never been aggressive. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I go and talk to referees. But on the other side of it, I've also been supportive of referees as well, and even with the thing we've done here, Dave, going back a few years regarding the referees and what I thought then. And I think that's part of it. As long as it isn't, you can challenge a decision. Where it comes, and Scott's just said it, where there is, and I think it's also together with what Steve says. If it's not reported properly and the referee doesn't report it in a way, if he just goes, oh look, he's had a go at me, he's called me, let's say a dick, but something a bit worse, he needs punishing. But if it's actually looks like it's physical or even mental abuse, where it's so aggressive and there is no comeback on that, then, and the FA just go, oh yeah, you've got a stadium ban. But I don't even think, even at step 4 level, I think that can be dealt with, because most of them are videoed, and it's below where the as Steve said, you can have stewards and that at that level, and where are they? And they're protected a little bit more, but obviously not. It's below that's my concern, where it is a Sunday morning football, or even Saturday lower down, where the referee's on his own, and the abuse and the physical can be more. And I was going to ask the lads, and I know it's been brought up before, and it comes into expense, but again, it's something that the FA or clubs maybe need to do. What are your thoughts on like the body cams, the ref cams that they can wear, so the FA can go, well, look, that is what has actually happened? Because even if you do put it in a report, if there is no video evidence, it is only apart, and say there's referees with no linesman, which is quite a lot apart from this level, it's your word against theirs. Yeah. It is your word against theirs. And some clubs will back, especially lower down the level, not at a serious senior football club, they will back their manager, because normally 9 times out of 10, as you said, he owns the club or whatever. There needs to be something that they can actually go, and like I said, the video evidence is there on this one, and most teams do video their games at a higher level, but there's got to be something for these lower level Sunday morning, Saturday afternoon that haven't got anything, that the referees can be protected.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Keith. Because I mean, like I said, my son's refereeing up those levels now, and the levels of abuse that can happen are extremely high. The lads or the people that are playing the games, they're not of a high standard. These are guys that will fall into the pub after the game. So their thought processes are not as balanced as some, let's say, a Whitstable Town, for instance. They're just not as balanced as that. And as soon as they see a younger referee, the intimidatory factor comes in. You've got a 17-year-old lad who's, let's just say, for instance, he needs to caution a 33-year-old 6'5" centre forward, and he's got to caution him. He's a 17-year-old lad. Is he going to be able to command that respect? But what I did witness, nobody sort of saw me behind them before one of my son's games, And the first thing that was said before a game, and I'm sure everybody knows this happens, is right, get straight into that young referee, get right into him, get on top of him straight away, basically try and run the game. And with what you say about body cams, I mean, there's so much around now with regards to video of ways of getting video. Body cams at a lower level, as you rightly say, sometimes they don't have assistant referees. They're at clubs where, you know, they're changing in a broom cupboard, you know, or they're coming already changed. And, you know, these clubs are just run on a complete and utter shoestring, which is fair enough. That's just where a lot of clubs are. But when it only takes one incident, one aggressive person to change the course of a referee's career, you know, because at the end of the day, if we've got a decision that gets made by a referee, let's just say an 18-year-old referee, and a player wants to take umbrage at that and goes for him, says things, or even physically attacks him, which has happened. It has happened this season. It's out there. Then we need a mechanism where I think, yeah, you know, we do need to have videos of this going on, because these guys are going out there on their own, you know, with absolutely no support whatsoever. And after these incidents happen, let's hope that there's no, you know, it doesn't get too bad, so bad where they're really physically hurt. But so many referees now are walking away. I'm getting calls all the time. I've had enough. I've just had enough. I got it from this team. I got it from that team. And they're walking away. And now numbers are getting so dangerously low that down in Dorset, for instance, in the Dorset Youth League, they've got about 5 referees to cover, I reckon 50 games. They've just not got referees. And all you get or all Ollie gets on a Saturday night is about 50 texts from clubs wanting him to referee. And he looks at me half the time on a Saturday night, and he says, "Dad, I don't want to referee youth football because the parents are a total nightmare. I'd rather referee the Saturday football that I do." And I'm like, right, we need to get the education to them. So I'm thinking body cams. I like that idea. And also we need to educate. Education's everything. But we've got to educate. The leagues have got to educate the clubs, and the clubs have to educate the parents, because just saying, "Oh, read this leaflet," it's not good enough, because it just won't happen. So I think education.
Scott, Stephen, obviously what Martin's saying about education, what do you think? And obviously, Steve, I was going to ask you, have you ever experienced it as you've come through? But and it's difficult for both, I know Martin and Scott to sort of say, but do you think that that referees are actually looked after by the FA, or what do you think the FA could do to help referees going forward?
There's quite a lot of support mechanism that's in place at the FA for different levels coming down, but it comes down to us, and mainly we're talking about Saturday football, and we're talking about coming down to probably level 4, level 5, where you've got training days, but they're very one-day meetings and things like this, which really isn't enough. So they do have training days. They do have lots of activities that they do put on, but I think a lot of it has to come down to county FAs as well. And, the county FAs do all this work on behalf of the FA within their different regions. And the counties obviously have got to try to do more. I know, for example, every week, for example, the Kent FA are sending out, a list of games that are uncovered, all sorts of levels of the game on a Saturday, and also trying to get games being covered on a Sunday. And they're obviously that short. I think, people are seeing these things on videos that they are seeing or hearing from other people where the abuse is coming, and why should anyone go out there and take all that on a Sunday morning in particular? I think Saturday is slightly better because it's in a controlled environment, more so in stadiums, as you're saying. at different levels, and there's that expectation where you've got the barriers, you've got where there is supposed to be some control by the home clubs to control their spectators, because that's all part and parcel of what's laid down in the rules and regulations. But I think where everybody is exposed is to the Sunday morning, where it's the local leagues who are trying to organise football for people, and unfortunately they're just abusing the fact and think it's, you know, getting tanked up on a Saturday night, going to games often where, you know, they're not in the best of spirits before they turn up, and players just do what they like, really, and often out of control. So I think the main area is on the Sunday at grassroots football. I think it's not ideal, but it's certainly a lot better at the Isthmian leagues in the south, you know, in the different areas of the Isthmian leagues and the southern leagues and maybe the combined counties leagues and of that area, level 5, probably at the maximum at level 5. But other than that, we haven't got enclosed grounds, it is a free for all, and referees do go out there under risk of being threatened, attacked. We do hear isolated occasions where this happens, but we shouldn't even be going anywhere near this topic. People should be going out, wanting to referee, wanting to play football, and yeah, you can have a moan and a groan from time to time, but it's just got way above, and it's almost a case that people think this is something that's okay to do, and strong punishments have to be dealt out by the FA, and leagues, I think, also have a duty to referees and football as a whole to prevent players from registering for clubs in certain leagues where their disciplinary records are at a certain level. And I'm certainly aware of one incident within our league where a club wanted to sign a player who plays some semi-professional stuff on a Saturday, but his behaviour is absolutely outrageous, and his disciplinary record is such that we wrote to the FA and asked for that player that we would refuse his registration, which was accepted because of his poor disciplinary record. We did that to protect the other teams. We did that to protect referees, but it's a needle in a haystack really for one player. But there's so much of it going around, and of course, one of the biggest problems is that players play under false names, and this doesn't help. So the biggest troublemakers you'll find are often jumping from team to team and clubs are actually registering under a false name, and very difficult to detect really some of the things that go on a Sunday, which is a shame. I don't think the FA system or the FA full time actually is probably strong enough to catch these people. I don't think when they sign on, they have to check their maybe a correct ID of a passport or a driving license. It comes under a name. These things have to be far more secure, but I guess that's such a big job that it's something that the FA can't really get hold of.
I think that's changed now, Steve. I was going to talk to you, sorry, Scott, before I let you have your view on it, because obviously with my son's team, obviously the FA full-time thing's there, and to sign them on, I can only say, obviously at Phoenix, and I know Whitstable's even more firm because I've just signed a lad on for senior, that you do have to show a photo ID of a passport or birth certificate with that number now to actually register. And then now the FA are actually emailing you or the parent personally saying, is this, and you verify it.
Okay.
So it is that. But with that, I was going to say, I don't know how much of that, because obviously, I have to fill in every Sunday, and I know there's some teams on the full-time thing, the behaviour of the away team, the behaviour of the spectators towards the referee. Now, I'm pretty honest about that, and I think you said this one team, I couldn't write a report and say they were, but I actually put like 0 from 1 to 10. They were that bad. Now, is there any feedback from that? Does anything happen from that? Or because there must be thousands of managers or secretaries every Saturday and Sunday, or more, tens of thousands, that are doing the same thing as me. Does it cause an alarm? Do they look, or is it just, that's just a tick in the box thing anyway, so it doesn't matter?
Well, all I can do is speak on behalf of the league I'm involved in. We're a respect league, and every referee has to mark each club a sportsmanship mark out of 100. That's the one thing. They also have to mark the manager, the players, and spectators out of a mark of 5. 5 being very good, 0 being totally unacceptable. Now, every referee puts those marks in on his match card to our referee secretary, and we monitor those really every week, ongoing. Although the mark of 3 is satisfactory, our league, we want clubs to aim for 4. And if we get a match card in on a Sunday morning where we've got teams that have dipped below that, our referee secretary or administrative person is onto that club immediately after the game to find out what went on. Now, sometimes we get an answer, something has happened, there's isolated incident. We pull the club straight in. We have a disciplinary committee on our league. We have the team in a Zoom meeting at the moment within the week of that incident happening to find out what's going on. And we give them a couple of chances to get their house in order. Otherwise, we'll say we'll remove them from our competition. We're not prepared to accept teams who constantly want to abuse the opponents or abuse the referee. We don't want that. It's a hard battle, but we've got to keep on doing it. Otherwise, the clubs will walk all over them. We are just about keeping their head above water. We've got the majority of our clubs on an average of 4. We've got 3 or 4 that have gone below that into 3, but we're constantly monitoring what they're doing. But you need a team of people that are going to do that on your grassroots football in order to make that Sunday morning as enjoyable as it possibly can be. But yeah, there's people that do take it too far and often have been out the night before and things don't go according to plan on a Sunday morning. That's not fair for anybody, but we do monitor it as a league. We really keep a tight rein on it. And, often we go to the county to see how far we can go, because not only do the leagues on a Sunday morning have their own rules and regulations, but we are also governed by what the FA rules and regulations say about the football on a Sunday morning as well. And there's only so far leagues can do, and there's only so far the punishments that we can dish out. If there's any disciplinary action on the field of play, it's down to the FA to deal with, or the county FA to deal with, and we can only sit back and wait until such time that action's been taken.
Scott, any?
Yeah, it's the main thing that would, and whilst we're looking at the referee, this is the referee abuse. The referee isn't. It's the people around that are causing this abuse. So and it's like you can put the leaflets, you can do the education piece, but the majority of the stuff that's coming from the sidelines, and if we use youth football as the example, these are the parents or associates, whatever, that are not registered to the club. They will bring their children to the game. They will not help set the pitch up. And I witnessed it. I was up in Blackburn visiting a few weeks ago, and it's quite interesting. You said about the 10 o'clock phone call on the Saturday night. I got a text off my good friend from up there, and I was actually going to watch his daughter and son play the next morning, and he just texted me and said, the refs cried off, can you do it? And we had a laugh about it. I think it was an under-12s mixed football thing. I can't remember how long it was each way. And I said, well, I guess so. If the other clubs agree, he said, well, we don't have anybody. And so I turned up, and I've never refereed youth football, so I've never been a part of it, unless when I tried to play really badly when I was younger. And I said, and I watched him turn up, and he was marking the pitch. Him and his assistant manager or joint managers, the two of them, they built the goals, the little like samba goals, whatever they used to call samba goals. They made sure they were in. He put the corner flags out. He's then doing the warm up. He's obviously speaking to the opposition as it was his home match, and then obviously chatting to me, about who was going to run the line and that type of stuff on youth football. And then these parents just turned up. They dropped their kids off, and they stood there. And granted, I must admit, it was a really pleasurable experience, and I really enjoyed it. But I thought if it was something might not have gone their way or anything, them people who've brought their children to the football, they've not contributed in a positive way. And then the videos that you see, and I think there was one from Ireland where it was an under-15s, under-13s cup final, and it was like a battlefield, and that I wouldn't have had any protection, you know, from these parents who, and I know the club could get fined, but that's counterproductive for me, because these are the people causing the problem, who aren't essentially affiliated to anybody. They're not DBS checked, or they're not on the whole game system or on a team sheet or anything like that. That these are the ones, the majority of the time, causing the problem. So how do you educate the human race?
Well,
That's
well,
kind of
that is it, isn't it? And this is what, you know, and these are the ideas that I was, you know, what I was sort of saying. But there's just a few ideas that I like to throw out to you. And again, some people might say I'm nuts, but it is about that. But you just mentioned one of them there, Scott, about being DBS checked. Now, I think Steve's right. I think from step 4, step 5, where it's senior football, if something major happens, like we see a little while today, obviously absolutely outrageous, but the FA can deal with that. Obviously, the police or whatever, there's smaller sort of scenarios. But just going back to the DBS thing, if you're a coach or you're a manager or you're in any football club, you have to be DBS checked to actually be that coach. Why can't you have to do something similar regarding, like, not the respect thing, but a referee thing on behaviour and things like that? That if a referee does give you something, that if you've done something serious, if you've had a go at infet, that sometimes it's a one-off, you get that, but that you get the mark down, and then you could maybe lose your certificate for that. So it stops you managing. It stops you coaching at that level. It's serious, because without this sounding bad, if any of them coaches done something seriously to a young under 18 or under 16 child, one, obviously there would be police things, but he wouldn't be able to manage or be involved with football again. So what's the difference if it's actually harming and physically? So why isn't that set up in place as standard anyway? Surely that can't be that hard. Like Martin, you can, and I can only say this, you can educate and send videos as much as you want. That ain't going to do a blind bit of good. No one will care. If they've got that mentality to do that, they will do it. If you can take that away from them, it'll be the only way they can do it. And also, they shouldn't be involved in the game if they physically want to harm someone that badly. Okay. So that's one of the points that I think they could do that there as well. The other one goes to the counties or whatever. That the only way that I can see it happening, just say, for instance, that Steve's refereeing one of my games, and one of my parents or whatever is outrageous, and he does us, like you said, under satisfactory to, and puts a report in that is serious. Again, shouting at ref, you've had a mare or things like that, isn't great, don't get me wrong, but it happens. Then maybe the county, or whoever it is, the league, go to the whole club, not just the team. You ain't getting a referee next week for any of your teams. And it punishes the whole club. So then the club goes, well, hold on a minute, we need to, either he needs to go or the parents. It's only drastic things for me that will make that change. How can a county, if a referee or something, they're getting reports or leagues that something's happening with these teams regularly, give them another referee the week after? It's like throwing in that young referee back into the lion's den after the horse has bolted. Something needs to happen until you say, right, until you can control your club or your team, you ain't getting a referee. We're going to give the referee to the nice teams down the road that ain't been getting a refs because idiots like you are killing us. Surely that has to happen as well.
I think, Keith, in some cases that might actually happen now. And I think some referees, officers on a Sunday morning don't have enough referees, and they've got to be selective on which referee and which teams get those referees. I'm sure they would go around to try to sort of even it out so everybody gets at least a referee within so many games. But I like your idea, the fact that, you know, if there is a coach on there that's abusing the referee, it's like if you've gone speeding, I guess, with the police, and if you don't take a course to go on a course, then your fines increased or whatever. So I think, as you're right, there needs to be some deterrent whereby that coach can't coach, or he's got a touchline bag for some time. So there is a deterrent for that. I don't know who can control that, whether the county have got enough resources to do things like that. But I think it's something that needs to be done. And I think also with spectators, and particularly at youth level, the youth matches, then maybe it's time that we should be stopping some of the parents from turning up to matches, and the club have got to take a responsibility for. They know the people that are coming into their ground who are associated with their club in some way, who are supporting their club, then to say, look, we're not having spectators. We're not prepared to have spectators coming in and abusing the referee. And the clubs have got to take some responsibility to stop these people from doing these things, to affect the players on the field of play, affecting the referee as well. Some of these things have to happen. And I know this is why referee academies were set up in the first place, to actually put the referees in a safe environment to officiate. And the academies and a lot of the professional clubs said, we don't want the parents here. We don't want you here. We're the ones who do the coaching, not you. And make a real strong line to say, we want this game to go ahead. We want the referee to be able to referee without all this rubbish going on. But that was okay because it was a higher level club. It was in a controlled environment. But when you're left open to a park pitch or a private club where, as you say, they let everybody in and anybody in, then it is the responsibility down to that club to monitor their spectators, etc., in order for the games to be take place in a safe way. So I think the onus also has got to be on. There's a lot of people who've got to take the onus of this, but the clubs have got to take some responsibility in ensuring that the players, the youngsters, are not being abused, or you're not getting a parent shouting out saying get him, or kick him down, or whatever it may be. That's totally outrageous. And clubs have got to start saying to spectators, look, or parents, look, we don't want you there. Okay, the trouble is, if you don't want them there, drop your boy off to play the football, fine. But unless you're a responsible adult and supporting the team, then you're not welcome at the club.
I just had someone come in and say that George Pope come in and said, I know a referee firsthand in Sunday League. Every week the league send a text or an email with the vacancies for the weekend in the league. He says, I won't ref them, and handpicks the ones he can. He knows he'll get a good response from. He gets paid the same for refereeing both games, and no one goes to football to get abuse.
Yeah, so referees will select which games they want to go to if they're looked after. But they'll turn around and go elsewhere, knowing the clubs that don't care whether you turn up or not.
I mean, one thing I saw on the referees group on Facebook today, and it was a comment by a referee, and it sort of summed up, I think, refereeing in quite a good way, I think, from spectators' points of view and from clubs' point of views. And it says that after my game on Saturday, the home club secretary came into my dressing room to pay us all our fees. He said, got one thing for you, ref. Why don't you send off their number 8 when you booked our lad? Even their supporters thought it was a red. I said that, had consulted my assistant, asking purposefully if there was a deliberate kick out. He said no. So I gave the 2 players a yellow card for aggressive attitude. The secretary said, well, you all missed that one because our bench saw it. I said I could go on my assistant, I go on my assistant, not the crowd, nor the benches. We try to see everything, but sometimes we can't. Oh, right, he said. I then asked him, what did you think of the advantage for your second goal? He replied, oh, I missed that, ref, sorry. Don't you just love football? Was the comment underneath.
It's typical, isn't it? You get involved in a conversation that you're never going to win. And at the end of the day, it's just best not to get involved with these people to start the argument, and it just escalates. It's best to say, okay, thanks very much. And, more of these things. But you've got to be thick-skinned sometimes as well.
Yeah, definitely. You've got. But with that, Dave, if the secretary has gone in and he's not been aggressive and he's asked exactly what he said, I can't see too much wrong with that. No. He hasn't gone, you're that. I think he's entitled, I'm entitled to go and speak to the ref and go, why'd you do that for? The ref gives me an opinion. He might go, I'll tell you what, the prime example one, this game that I said about these supporters, one goal, it was ridiculous. There was an offside goal, okay, that looked miles offside. My liner gave the flag, and we went, that's offside. The referee, again, went over to line to speak to him. Now, I didn't go mad. I just went to my linesman. What did he say to you? And he said, oh, he thought it come off one of the people's foot who went offside. I went, fine. If it would have been the other way, they would have gone nuts. But if they sort of explain, I think you're allowed to sort of challenge certain things in certain ways.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. If it's done in a reasonable way and you're in contact, I think most managers at your level, Keith, and above, there's like rules and regulations for managers going into to speak to the referee after a game, and I think normally they ask for like a cool down period, maybe 15 minutes, when everyone's sort of a bit calmer and everyone goes in. Then there's no reason why anybody can't go in and just ask the question, but as long as it's done in a reasonable and a controlled manner and no one's shouting and abusing each other, conversation is important, and if the referee can give an answer to the question, that's great, and there's no reason why that can't be done. But I think there's a lot of times where a lot of people can't put themselves in a controlled situation before they ask the question, and then everything goes up in the air, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, you look at obviously what happened Saturday, and that wasn't controlled at all. And then, but I think Keith, like you say, and like Steve says, there's no problem whatsoever with a manager coming in, asking those questions in a good manner, and then you might not like the answers that the referee gives, or you might understand where the referee was coming from, but at least you've got an answer to the question. You can have a proper conversation. Now, you strike me as a sort of guy that would definitely do that, and whether you like the answer or not, you'll accept it. But I think referees have to do that, because if they don't do that, then they open themselves up to even more problems. Because if they're not prepared to answer a question or a couple of questions that you have and you've asked in a nice manner, then you haven't got no answers. So you've got a grievance, and you're going to air that grievance in an interview or in the press or whatever. So yeah, I think that's that's fair comment, and we do, and the referee also has to be true to himself as well. Don't try and kid anybody with a load of rubbish, because at the end of the day, somebody like yourself, Keith, you're not stupid. You're around the game. Don't say, as a referee, don't say, oh, I think this happened or I think that happened, just to cover your backside. If you think, I can put myself in a situation last season where I made a rick of all ricks, okay? And that was because I was being complacent as a referee, thinking I was better than I was, okay? And I made a massive rick. And in the end, I spoke to the manager and I just said, look, I've got no excuse for what took for that decision. I said, I understand your question. I'm in agreement with you, because I've now seen it on the camera, and it was a horrendous decision, and I do apologize. I'm glad I haven't cost you the game. And he was happy that I just admitted that I had that I got it wrong. And sometimes referees have to do that, and they've got to entertain the manager, and like Steve says, in a controlled manner.
No, I do agree, that does happen. You're on mute, Scott.
Sorry, mate, you'll probably be glad of that. There's a bit of a kind of thing here that kind of 2 points. I'm just kind of going back a bit of a step, where you brought something up at the start, Keith, about match fees, and match fees are set by the competition, in unison with the FA. And then to fast forward to what David said about someone getting a text on a Saturday night about a list of games, you picking who you can and can't referee, essentially. And I chatted to a referee up north, it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he said to me, you would not believe this. He said, there's pretty much a bidding war going on for my services. For a Sunday League game, he got paid 80 quid. It started at 40, and he was not interested in the game. And obviously, they ended up settling on £80 for a Sunday League game. Clubs can't afford that. And I just think that if that's where we are, then you can talk about supply and demand and all that type of stuff, but we don't expect to get paid 80 quid for a Sunday morning game.
I'm quite surprised about that, Scott. Sorry, because I know certainly on our league, we can't raise the fee because the county set a cap level. Now, and I would imagine that goes for all counties. So I would suspect that this is two teams or a club trying to get the services of a referee and don't care what they pay as long as they get a referee. So I'll be very, very surprised if the league would actually sanction that wherever it is in the country, because as far as I'm aware, there is a cap being put on. But with shortages, as you talk about, it wouldn't surprise me if certain teams would go out and say that to a referee in order to make sure they get one.
Yeah.
Steve, I can clarify that. I'm on my Facebook. I needed a referee a couple of weeks ago, and someone, I think, even commented on there, went, go onto this site. It's either, don't matter, they might kick me off it, but it's either find the ref or Kent ref needed, and it's inundated on a Saturday. Anyone can do an under 12s in watch. Anyone do that, and they're going, I'll pay 50, I'll pay 60, I'll pay 70, I'll pay 80 quid. Can you get one? So
you better let me know what that site's called. I'll have a look it up.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, but no one's going to $2,000, Steve. Anyway,
I wish.
Yeah. When I had our first league game, the referee had done it. Like I've known for years, come up to me and went, "Do you know what, Keith? I've got offered 60 quid this morning that I could have done instead of your game." Now he gets 30 quid from us, and it's nothing to do because obviously they're under 13s. But another referee went to me, "Keith, it's not just about the money, but why don't this league, like if you do a 30-minute game, you get paid 30. If you do a 35-minute game, it's 35. If it's 40, it's 40. And it's 45, 45. Don't that make sense?" And I went, "Well, to me it does." And I don't see a club having a problem when under 18s or seniors paying a referee 45 quid to do 2 45-minute halves. What's that work out? 50p a minute. It's and I do think referees don't want to get up to 30. Would they get up to 45? I think it's more of the appreciation thing, Steve. If I'm a referee, it's like a bit like players now. If you offer a player 30 quid and he knows it's 50 quid going, he's going to go to you, "I ain't playing for you at 30 quid. He shouldn't, even though I want to play. It's 50 quid. And I think it goes in hand in hand. I think you've got to look nowadays, things have moved on. People do want to do it for that. But I do think the finances, and there are going to be clubs and that are going to be killing me at the moment, that need to pay referees a little bit more money. And I think parents...
I take your point. My concern about all that is that referees go looking for the money and you get a lower level of a referee refereeing the game, and then you get all the problems.
That's what I was going to, Steve, yeah.
This is the problem. Maybe the person who's chasing the money, okay, newly qualified. Oh, I can make how much money in a weekend? Great. But they can't referee a game. Maybe they don't know the laws of the game well enough. And of course, then consequently, as a knock-on effect, you've got all hell breaking loose. And I think that is the biggest worry.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way it's going to go. I do think that referees will become, sort of, because even on that, if like we had no referee Sunday, but I still had to put the referee. Now I could have got another referee in, proper referee, put his name down, but no one knew how much we paid him. But obviously there was none about there. Yeah. But just going back to another thing again, and again I could have a load of managers now that's going to kill me for this, but it would even stop what happened on. Well, it may have stopped what happened, what we see today, but for lower levels. What what about this for referees for a little bit more protection? With obviously from step maybe 5 or whatever, where a referee has to have a protected walkway to come through to stop obviously abuse from supporters. What about obviously that managers, coaches, or whatever, apart from the physio, are not even allowed to step foot on the pitch even after the game? To shake hands. That gives you even few more extra cooling down periods. You shake hands with the opposing team off the pitch, and you talk to your players off the pitch as they come on, and the referee. So you're not even, if you step on the pitch, it's an offence.
Yeah, I think it certainly was something that went on at a higher level some time ago when they used the excuse of going on and shaking hands, but it never got to that situation. I mean, I remember seeing various incidents of managers absolutely abusing the referees after the game with the excuse of going on to shake their hand to say thank you. And I think there was a time where they stopped people coming on and approaching and just getting everybody away. I mean, referees do tend to stand back, allow everybody to leave the field of play before they then leave the field of play themselves. But that's probably true when there's been some difficulties in the game, because nobody wants to come across and shake your hand after a game, and then they're all going to go off anyway. But when everybody generally or normally, you're still going to get players who come and shake your hand, even when there's difficulties. And I always, when I'm observing, I watch the coaches come off the technical area, and you can tell straight away who's coming across to give the referee an earful, and those who are going to come across and maybe shake their hand and disappear. But
yeah, they do use that as an excuse, Steve. You're right. I mean, I can think of quite a few incidences. One in particular where it might be where the dugouts are situated on the opposite side to where the changing rooms are, like they are in one club in Somerset. And it's completely the other way. And like you say, Steve, I moved away once I blew the final whistle to one side because I thought, well, I just want the managers to go into that corner and off they go with the players. Any players want to come and shake hands, that's fine. And as soon as I saw one particular manager coming with his assistant coming in my direction, I knew what was coming. So I sort of started making my way towards the camera because I wanted the camera to catch what he was going to say. And he came over and let me have it, even though they won the game. Basically, I'd sent off one of his players. And, you know, I mean, I'm thinking, why can't you just accept the sending off, accept that you've won the game, and off you go? But no, he wanted to come over and have a go at me. And maybe there is a way that we can possibly start that, because that caused a massive ruckus. Because then what it actually did is it incited his players, some supporters behind it incited them. And the person who came on to walk me off, as you say, Steve, Stewart, who happened to be the chairman of the club, he put in his sixpenneth as well. And I'm like, I am absolutely surrounded here. And I've got absolutely nowhere to go and no protection, you know. So I think something better can be put in place to stop that happening.
But when you send in forms like that to, you know, to the free refs, I mean, when you send reports into your FA, to the FA or to your county FA or whatever it may be, or to the league, what response do you get back yourselves when it comes to that sort of thing? Do you get any response back from the FA, or do you get any response back from the league in general? Back to you.
What happens now is that you don't report any misconduct to your league. It all goes to the county FAs or the FA. So on the full-time system or the whole game system, every referee is logged on and they have a number. And so what happens is once they've had yellow cards or red cards or even misconduct reports, they then have to go online and click on boxes and tick. Before, you used to write out an awful lot of what happened, but now when it comes to yellow cards in particular and red cards, you just click on boxes and ticks and it registers as a red card or a yellow card. It's only when it comes to misconduct reports where you are actually typing things out in a more lengthy process and generally when this has come to serious incidents. So that's what happens. So a lot of it now is very automatic through the whole game system, and every referee has a fan number as such, and that's registered. And as you send it in, you know, the names of the players who are already associated with the club are already registered on the whole game system. So you just scroll down and click on the player that's already registered for the club and it should appear on the system. So as referees, you'll send it off. You won't necessarily get an acknowledgement from the county that it's been received. You may not know anything about it as a referee, what's happened. If there's a hearing or a team has challenged the red card, you may be asked to attend a disciplinary hearing, depending on the circumstances of it. But generally speaking, if you do your yellow cards and a normal red card on a weekend and you send them off to the FA, you generally won't hear anything more about it.
If you get abuse, though, what I'm thinking of, if you get an abuse, like, you know, you was just saying there, Martin, and you got people surrounding you at the end of games and stuff like that, and that gets sent off. Would you not think that would be the right thing to do, though, for your, you know, for the county FAs to be getting back to you to, you know, just have a chat with you, make sure you're okay, even if it's mental health wise? Do you know what I mean? Just to make sure they come back to you, just to say, you know, maybe a bit of a care and attention from that FA that may stop you from, if it was serious enough, from, you know, like my daughter did, from walking away from refereeing full stop.
It'd be lovely. It would be lovely to get some more support like that. I agree, and like Steve says, with all the systems that go on, obviously this was at a step 3 game, for instance, so it goes directly to the FA, not the county FA. When I put my report in, basically what happens, if I put in, it's called an extraordinary report, and if I put the extraordinary report in, Steve's right, you don't hear anything unless you either get a hearing or a club's challenged it, and they will ask you for further observations, or the club will challenge you, like as to your version of events. Now, what I would say about county FAs is a lot of referees come to me, and if there are referees watching now, please think this through. A lot of county referees come to me and say, "Oh, this happened to me today, that happened to me today, and as I was walking off, this happened and that happened." And we're talking about Saturday afternoons, like you at step 5, for instance. And they say stuff happens, and I say, right, get your report in straight away or whatever. And they end up not reporting it. And I say to them, "Oh, I heard nothing." They say to me, I heard nothing from the county FA. And I said, "Do the county FA actually know this incident took place?" And they went, "Well, no, I was thinking of my club marks." And I'm like, sod your club marks. Your club marks don't matter. Who cares? I said, report them, then they can read what's happened. And I guarantee you that our county RDO, who endorse it, he would 100% get that email, and within 20 seconds of receiving and writing and reading that email, he will be on your phone to check if you're okay. Now, it would be nice if we had a bigger support mechanism like that, but the referees that watch this, if you're out there and you're in a situation and the situation's happened, you have to report it. Stop worrying about your club marks. Stop worrying about, "Oh, I'm going to have them again in 3 or 4 weeks' time." Who cares? If you're not going to report these clubs will continue to do it, and it will get worse and worse and worse until it gets better. So please report them, so county FAs can actually put support in place, because they need to know about it. The amount of times I'm told that they don't know about it is incredible.
No, you're right. But again, just there are going to be referees that get me, Keith. Like, cool, you shout with the rest of them, and I do. And I said I've got one of these voices that just bellow out. I can propel my voice, but it is more sort of, I would say, I'm passionate, but I am quite respectful on it as well, and I do try and stick up for them. But I'm just trying to throw ideas about how things can help referees out. And I mentioned the body cams. Now, Steve, going back, obviously, when you started refereeing, would you say that it was there then? There was still obviously abuse. Is it worse now because obviously we're hearing more of it for social media? And this is just going back again about social media. Could social media actually help referees in this sort of thing in the FA? Because do you think after what we've just seen today, if it was me and I'd have done that with a rush of blood and I'd have seen myself on social media doing that, I would have either gone 2 things. 1, I'm resigning and I'm not doing this again, or I can physically not do that again. I've got a family. So if that was actually brought up on your body cam that Dave Square had abused you or threatened you, not, had a go at you, like, and you see that actually on social media, would that be more of a deterrent?
I think, I'll talk about this body cam thing, because I think at the moment the laws of the game won't allow anybody to wear a body cam, because it's equipment that would be dangerous to either the referee or a player on the field of play. So in an ideal world, if we had something like that, I think it being published and being broadcast, it will be an embarrassment to the person clearly who has done that. And I think going back in my time, cameras were everywhere. So most things got picked up and it was seen on either Match of the Day or recordings of somewhere. So I think the referees were far more protected at that level. And I think, whatever was seen, the cameras would have picked it up. If you hadn't have reported something, the FA would have come on to you and said, "We've seen this on this game." They will ask you for, report. But if you had seen, or they'll ask you, "Had you seen this incident?" The referee may say, "Well, I didn't see that incident at the time," and then they'll say, "Well, if you had seen it, what action would you have taken?" So there was some retrospective action that they could have taken at that time. So it's all very well at that level, but it doesn't go down far enough in order for that to be seen. I agree with you. Whilst the social media for me is very dangerous, and I say I don't get involved in any of that whatsoever. probably someone will use it in the wrong way or take it to their advantage, and it could throw a lot of things up. But certainly when these things come up, it certainly would highlight problems, certainly highlight problem individuals that we have in the game. Whether that would change their mentality and whether that would change their behavioural aspects, I don't know. Maybe if someone is that way inclined, it doesn't matter what they do or where it's seen, they won't change. I don't know. But I'm sure there will be some who probably would maybe take a step back and think about the image that they're portraying. And not only that, as you mentioned earlier, about how it affects you, how it affects your family. Are you an embarrassment? How will the club deal with these things? I'm sure some of these things would help. But I think, what we're talking about, where the biggest problem for me is on the grassroots on a Sunday morning. And you're not going to get the exposure there. People may have their mobile phones out and taking videos of certain things. Whether it gets into the right hands, whether it's then used to make things worse, I don't know. My main bugbear is what Martin mentioned about there are officials who don't report things, which is really unfortunate. It doesn't help the situation. The people that should be punished and held accountable often get away with things. And I think there's a lot of officials who feel frightened and intimidated that if they did these things, somebody might be coming around to find them. And that's a horrible and terrible thing for them to have to think about. But I think there is, they're quite happy to go out, referee, and earn their money, but they don't want to be involved in anything that else goes on after that. But it doesn't help the next person coming along, because if it's not reported, then that person is still out there likely to do the same type of damage as he's done the week before. And then the net's got to close somehow, and everybody has to have the courage to report. Otherwise, we're going to have these types of people, spoiling the game, spoiling the enjoyment of football for everybody, unless we and the FA and the county FAs, systematically get rid of these people and ban them for. We used to have a sine die ban, but that has gone now. I don't think there is a life one now. Sine die, but it's 2 years. Well, that's not sine die. So I think everything's been watered down somewhat, which is not actually helping the situation.
Do you think there's something? Sorry. Do you think there's something that it's just to everybody really, but Steve in particular? Do you think there's something that the TV companies, radio, and the mainstream media could do within the situation we've got? Because what I'm seeing, let's just say, for instance, there's so much football on there now. You can see everything that happens in a game of football, and then obviously we see behaviours from certain managers or whatever. 9 times out of 10, in the professional level, it's not too bad. But when they see a refereeing decision that they don't agree with, and then the behaviour on a Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning in particular, towards a referee, they've seen Match of the Day, they've seen Sky Sports Sunday football, and they say, well, the referee did that last weekend in the Premier League. And I'm thinking, this ain't the Premier League, mate. This is the Sunday League.
Yeah, but they all copy, and this is what we know. The unfortunate thing about a lot of the football on a Sunday is that half the players do not understand the laws of the game, have no idea about the law changes that have occurred over the last 3 or 4 years. You got referees who are trying to go out and explain why they've given what they've given. The players don't understand. The players don't want to know, and you have this situation where there's 2 people coming together. Referees trying to explain what he's doing and why he's doing it. Other people don't explain. They don't understand the laws of the game, but they're playing the sport. I mean, you look at rugby in comparison. Okay, majority of people that do play rugby actually know the law. There isn't no dissent. There's clearly dissent in rugby, because I've seen it since it's going professional, and there's a lot of back chat now compared to what it used to be. But it's still quite controlled. And it is an educational thing, I think, when we look back at it. People that play rugby, and more of that kind of people, are fully educated, understand what respect means, understands the laws of the game and what it's meant for. And there's a lot more respect shown to the referee. Now, it doesn't appear that way in football at all. And why should it be that? Why should it be that different? Just the mentality and attitude of people who don't really care. Maybe they are not as educated as other people. Maybe they just don't care about anything and everything. All they're worried about is going out, kicking a ball, and if they want to shout and bawl at somebody, they do. But unfortunately, we have too many of those types of people that want to associate themselves to football. And if we're not careful in authorities and those people in power don't take stronger action from now onwards, then I can see a clear deterioration in maybe Sunday football, youth football. Maybe there'll be less leagues around. Maybe they'll be having no football to play at all. Now, certainly the last few years, there's less and less pitches of being available to play football now. And as Scott said earlier, the cost of playing on a Sunday morning is astronomical. Talking about 150, 200 quid for a pitch. Then you've got to pay the referees on top of that. They've got to get all their kit. Some clubs just cannot afford to do that. And I do think we get into a terrible situation now where we will see a demise of the amount of football played on a Sunday. I think Saturday will continue because it's more structured, it's more controlled, there's more rules and regulations in place. The FA has more control over that football, where it's more county FAs who are having less staff, I believe, in all county FAs now to deal with all these difficulties that seem to be cropping up. And I think referees who are actually sending in their reports of all sorts of different incidents happening on a Sunday morning, it's going to the disciplinary department. And unless people within the county FAs are passing on these reports about certain incidents and referees that are being affected, then referees will be left, unfortunately. But it's a vicious circle.
And I think there's so many, Steve, as well. What you mentioned is that, and I think Keith said it when he said about or David about being contacted after an incident.
Yeah.
How many incidents? I don't have the stats to hand or anything, and I wouldn't be entitled to them anyway. But how many incidents are a county FA? So discipline at whateverfa.com. How many are they getting every Monday morning when they flick the laptop on at 9 o'clock?
Yeah,
we've got to be talking hundreds.
Yeah, I find it. I mean, what's happening in Dorset is quite remarkable. With respect, because I cannot believe many county FAs who get a report from a referee where maybe he is under threat or under pressure. It's going in as a disciplinary report, but for a county FA person to then call that person as quickly as you say, I would be extremely surprised that happens in the majority of counties.
Yeah, I think, Steve, to be fair, we're an extremely small county.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. In a county like Kent or even around London, that's never going to happen. We're a small county with a small amount of referees, to be fair.
Well, we just had this come from, I've just seen this from the Worcester FA. There's just been said, it said, following reports of poor behaviour towards under-18s referees at 2 youth matches over the weekend, our referee department has recommended that fixtures for the 2 Worcestershire FA teams are postponed until investigations are completed. The majority of the poor behaviour came from players and spectators. This is unacceptable. Poor behaviour towards our match officials must, and in capital letters, stop immediately.
That's great. It's great to hear that. And I hope, and I'm sure all county FAs do their utmost to try to help and support the game and protect referees. But I'm sure many things slip through the net because of the vast majority of incidents, like Scott says, happen that I'm sure go undetected. But yeah, maybe it come to a point where across the country one weekend, everyone will say, right, referees on a Sunday morning, they're not prepared to go out and referee because of the levels of abuse that are happening. And it needs a wholesale stance from all referees up and down the country for that to happen. But it's unlikely it will happen. You're not going to get everybody to do that. But it needs something like that, as powerful as it is, to try to ram the message home that, referees are there to try to referee a game, to help you play on a Sunday morning, and not just the players, but outside influences of spectators as well, who just go along there really not really interested in too much in the football, support their team, but regardless of what happens, if they don't like it, they'll have a go at someone. It's just not on.
Can I?
My concern, sorry, Dave. Sorry,
Go on.
just saying. But my concern is just that I just think something's being missed. I think referees. I don't think across the board. You're not going to stop people going, oh, ref, you've been cracked today and whatever. I think, like you said, Steve, you've got to be thick-skinned. It's no different than some are saying my team's crap or the supporters. Part of football is you need to be thick-skinned in a little way.
Reasonable challenge, Keith.
But I think, Scott, what's worrying me is that it's obviously it escalates. Is that now it's come to a stage where referees are actually being abused physically, or something serious is going to happen. Now, at a higher level, as Steve said, even to step 5, I know what we see today was poor, but there is some sort of protection there.
Yeah. Agreed.
There is no protection for the Sunday morning referee or the youngsters coming through. So if I've got a young kid, a young Steve Bennett that wants to be a referee in a Premiership, what am I going to do as an FA or a county FA to make sure that young Steve Bennett's going to be protected, not from someone actually coming to hit them or protect them. Now, so what Steve's saying, and when I keep mentioning about things like body cams and things like that, something drastic needs to be done. Now, the rules need to change lower down to protect referees. Yeah, you can't wear a body cam on a Premiership. I get that, and no one cares because you've got it on TV. I see Wayne Rooney calling maybe a young Steve Bennett an FMC or whatever. You can lip read. He gets away with it. So, which is fine, but that isn't making an excuse. It's what's stopping the young manager, the young coach, or a parent walking on and physically hitting or pushing, or more mentally, not calling him useless or crap or whatever, a young referee or a referee today. Now, that is what's got to stop. That is what the FA now have got to go before it happens, not after it happens, because it does happen, and TalkSport have mentioned it and things like that. What is going to make the young kid or my son coming through say, look, listen, son, it's safe to go and be a ref there. What drastic actions are the FA, county FAs going to do to protect them? Awareness isn't good enough. Putting stuff on leaflets and clubs until it's done. We're unfortunately we're in a. I keep blaming the FA and they're going to kill me. And the next thing that, but I keep saying the FA. It's not just the FA, leagues and county FAs and whatever. Until things are actually put in place drastically that can protect young referees and referees now from the physical stuff first. Then you can start with the mental abuse or whatever. You've got to stop the top level first. And that's my concern, that at the moment, a young referee walking out on a Sunday to a parent or whatever is subject to a free-for-all if it happened, if that person wanted to do it.
No,
right. And my question would be, and I saw someone post this today on this, I think it was on the thread of that video today, and someone put it out, and I think he was a referee himself, possibly, and he put on there, he said, don't forget there's plenty of referee courses available if you'd like to become a referee, or words to that effect on there. So my question to you guys is, and to all of you, I suppose, more than anything else, if you've got a young son or a young daughter, and and they may want to they might not be brilliant at football, or they might be good at football, but they want to get into refereeing. As a parent as well, where is your mindset when you see things that we've seen today, and not just today, but we've seen loads and loads and loads of this on social media, over the last, I don't know, year, 2 years, whatever it's been. How on earth do you then justify yourself thinking to yourself, do you know what, I'm going to let my son or daughter go out there, spend the money to do the referee's course, and then they'll be open to that type of abuse week in, week out, every week as a parent? I mean, surely that must be a really difficult conversation to have with your child, if that's the case that they're going in there at 16, 17 as a referee, knowing full well that the likelihoods is they're going to get some type of abuse, and you're going to open up your child to that type of abuse. And also, if you're that type of person anyway, how do you open yourself up to that abuse? How are we going to get more young referees in the game if that carries on all the time?
I mean, it's a great question. I mean, when Ollie first started, my son, it was the first thing on my mind, what if he gets abused, and I'm worried about that. And it was there every single game, and he wanted to do it because I did it, and then he started enjoying it, and then he started realizing he could make 20 quid or 25 quid or whatever. And then he got his first little bit of abuse in an under 10 game. And I'm stood behind the parent, and the parent, it's incredible what he said. He abused him, and I said, pipe down, mate. We don't need any of that. Keep yourself calm. He's a young lad refereeing. Yeah, well, we should be having more experienced referees. And I'm like, look, I just looked at him in disbelief. I said, are you for real? Are you for real? And I wanted to have a conversation with him, but Stephen alluded to something earlier. He said, you're going to get yourself into a conversation. You are not going to win because there's 15 of them there. Do you know what I mean? And you could try and educate, but you'll just be told to F off, because I could see that was his demeanor. And I definitely would, when I have communication with Ollie now, when I'm talking to Ollie now, I say, look, the opportunities are there. You've got something that I haven't got. I said, you've got time, you know. So go, just keep going, keep getting better. And the way you referee, you've got every chance. I mean, he's run Scott's line for him, which was a big day with a championship club, and it was fantastic, and he really enjoyed it. And then a week later, he's refereeing Manchester United legends and shaking hands with Wes Brown as a captain, you know, and he's having these opportunities. They're coming his way. So I don't want people to be scared off from this. What I would love to see is the big TV companies, and I'm talking about the big TV companies, your Skys, your BBCs, your BTs, even doing a half an hour show on refereeing or grassroots football at a good time of day, not 11 o'clock at night, at a good time of the evening, because there's so much football on at the moment that, you know, all your parents, all your Sunday league players, your Saturday league players, they're all watching it, and they all try to emulate it. They all try to emulate that game, but they also see all the incidents that happen in those games and think, when they see something going towards the ref, or he's got a decision wrong, because Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker are telling them, are showing them time and time again a decision wrong, they think that decision then that's been replicated on the Sunday morning, it's the same thing. So they can have a go at that referee. Well, it's not. So maybe we should have some sort of a show or something on grassroots football or on refereeing and referees, to try and, even at 8 o'clock at night, to try and educate people of what actually is happening in grassroots football and what is actually happening with referees. Whether they will watch it, I don't know. Like Keith says sometimes, he says they don't actually care. Maybe a few might care. I'd like to take a few.
The problem with that, Martin, and this does come from the FA, and Steve was there, is that referees aren't allowed to come out and do a show on a, you know, I'm surprised we've got people on here, to be fair, but to go out and do a show, and there is this, obviously, and this is another bugbear of mine, this is this connection with referees and you know, and teams, and this was another thing where I think there's something in football that, you know, at our level, that a referee can only referee a game X amount. They can't be too familiar. I actually think, and Steve may agree with this with his league, but if it might help that teams are really familiar with referees and they get on with them, and then that abuse wouldn't be as, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you sort of treat them like your mates. And so you see him most weeks. I'm on about lower level, so you get the same referee nearly every other week, and then you know he makes mistakes, then you go, oh well, never mind. I think that could even help and diffuse the situation. But just going back to a regular point, if the referees are not allowed to, I'd say, bond in football and be part of the explaining not what they've done wrong, but actually talk about football until they're retired. You know, people look at Steve and Dermot Gallagher and all that like different human beings now than what they thought they were when they had their black kit on and refereed. I think that needs to change massively.
I think,
Steve, I've got a question. Is it granted? Obviously, I know you're a manager. Is that, do you invite a local referee into your club pre-season to give you the updates on the laws of the game?
That was, well, we have done that, and we've done it at the league. But that was part of my major thing that I was saying, that referees should go into clubs and do pre-season training with them as well. and actually get to know them. And that was part of my education for local referees and even youngsters, so they get used to them clubs, come and do all their academy games, come and affiliate the counties, say, so we've got Whitstable, Herne Bay, I'm trying to put it geographical, Ramsgate, 5 referees all the time in pre-season. You go to them, you go to the other part of the county, you go to the other. This is what's part of what I was trying to strive for a few years ago, when people were going, well, I think that needs to happen. I think, because what happens is sometimes, and this is, I can only go this at a high level, it shouldn't happen on a Sunday, but the first point of contact a referee gets with the manager is when he's in the tunnel, if I haven't met him before. So a referee on his own has to come down, he meets the old gits in the committee room that really thinking, oh, I've got to pay this geezer 100 odd quid plus expenses, and they get the ump with him. Then he walks down and sees the assessor, who tells him, well, I used to referee like this. No disrespect, Steve, right? But it does happen, because I've seen it. He walks in and sees 2 people that he don't really know that well, that are officiating on the line. So then the first time he comes out, is the players abusing the linos, going, oh, bugger off, mate, my cut down socks are all right. Why do I need to tape up that bit? So there's negativity before he's even walked out the door. And straight away, he goes, all right, lads, how are you getting on? And everyone's going, oh, great. That's the issue for me. And so when a referee turns up on a Sunday morning, it could be the one that's, he's like, oh, it's this old git again. Well, the referee I was saying about the other Sunday, I've known really well, was having a chat and a laugh and joke with me an hour before the kickoff. Straight away, you're like, all right, if he's made a mistake, I'll go, Jim, are you sure? And he'll go, yeah. And you'll just forget about it. And I think that it might be different, because obviously I've been experienced, I've done it a long time, but I think that does need to happen.
There's 2 sides to that. Is that if you've got them 5 or 6 that you say in your geographical location, you've got like Herne Bay, yourself, and then you're saying, so you play a team from further away, and he walks in, he goes, oh, how are you doing, Gaffer? You all right? And you go, hey up, Scott, how are you, pal? Did all right the other 2 weeks ago. The opposition will turn around and go, they're connected here, they do all the academy games, do you know what I mean? They're the hand that feeds them, however you look at it, because as a manager, someone might not be as polite as you. That can be misconstrued. So it's a double-edged sword, in a sense where you want a positive relationship. And trust me, I am absolutely on your page with that. We're building a positive rapport with the clubs. But there's also that other side of it where, you play a team from outer county, or, your longest journey away, and someone's doing your game. You want to hide into nothing as a ref.
Yeah, I'm not saying they should do like all you get. I'm saying in pre-seasons you get to know them. But I'd say sometimes you'll only see a referee once a year, and then you'll get another one from miles away. Different leagues. Just say like again, it doesn't work, but the Eastern and Southeast. It's geographical anyway. So there could be, I know it's different and what you're saying, but the Kent referees could do that a little bit more. And I know it does need to change, and I get all that, but I just think it can be a little bit more familiar than what it is at the moment.
I mean, when you said about, Keith, refs coming out and maybe explaining a few things, you say it's a bugbear of yours, and I've always thought about that, because I'd like to see how it goes. What would happen? Well, what I did is I did a few videos on a social media thing, and just seeing if it would hit, just seeing if 1 or 2 would go viral, just to see, and I wouldn't comment back on anything, just to see what the comments would be. Would the referee be put in a situation where he can't win? So I explained a law decision that happened in the Chelsea-Liverpool game, and I literally explained it. It got 500,000 views, and the comments were, I think it was 3,500. I would say it was 70-30 positive, but the negative comments, some of the negative comments were vile. Do you know what I mean? Just absolutely vile. And I worry about putting referees in that situation, but I got to say 70% of the comments were good, and they were like, oh, thanks for explaining that,
But that's a step in the right direction then, Martin, isn't it? It's 70%. You've only got to deal with the 30% of the idiots, and I do get that. I just think sometimes that, again, and we're talking high up, but people want to see your personality. It's like me. People judge me without even knowing me. And sometimes I go, well, don't call me an absolute bellend. right? Because I most probably am, but unless you properly know me, and I've had people come up to me and go, Keith, now I know you're not like what I actually thought you were, and that's what. And I'm not saying it's difficult for referees, because it is, but that will just bring that out a little bit. Like I said, I've only seen, obviously I know Steve quite a bit. Obviously I've met him in the end of my garden, but we've before I've watched him on TV, and you're thinking, well, that's Steve, but he's come on our show. I've talked to him. You sit and think, he's genuinely a really nice fella. I shouldn't need to be thinking that anyway, but because obviously uniforms, managers, whatever, that's
perception.
What people think they are.
Yeah.
Perceptions.
It's exactly the same whether you're a
Keith.
referee, you're a policeman. This is sometimes the attitude towards people in authority. And I think this is a difficult one. We have to also remember that, referees come in all shapes and sizes. You've got referees who are good man managers. Maybe they've come from backgrounds where they're actually in charge of many people in the jobs that they've actually been doing. You might come across referees who have been a taxi driver or something like that. Actually dealing with people and being able to manage people. And like you were saying, Keith, some people can have a laugh and a joke. Some are very timid. Some are very, and then the whole attitude of that rubs off on managers, players, and spectators alike. They all have their perception of a referee. And it's a difficult one for referees to be accepted within that. But many people, and most people will say, well, without a referee, we got no game. But fine, and they're always there to be shot at. They have a neutral ground, so to speak. But, you think about it, I always used to try to explain to a player that what I see from the middle of the field of play is going to be totally different to every other player on the field of play, and every manager and coach that's sitting in the technical area, and every spectator in the ground, because they don't, until we have a camera put here, no one will understand what I've seen and what I've given and why I've given it. But it's how you can manage that, how you can, as Keith just said, use some personality when you're refereeing, not necessarily resorting to yellow cards every 5 seconds, because it gets everybody's backs up. Unfortunately, now with some of the laws of the game, there are automatic yellow cards that have to be given for technical offences, as we all know. But there is room for management still, and not every foul is a yellow card. I know referees in general do get abuse, and they do get comments and negative comments. But sometimes, and I think it's fair to say this, and referees, it's easy to say, oh no, you can't say that, but I'm going to say it. Referees sometimes actually create their own problems on the field of play, and we do get negative responses because of the way we have dealt with certain situations. And I see managers, I see players who get into all sorts of problems. And then I sit down and I say to a referee, why do you think it happened? And try to get them to understand that maybe their approach in the game wasn't the best way of doing it. And we do get reactions. I'm not saying these reactions like we saw on the Facebook today were acceptable. Far from it. Totally unacceptable. But sometimes the way a referee referees a game, and it's rare, but it happens, that you do spark that reaction. But having said that, and you've sparked a reaction, people still have to control themselves in an acceptable manner. They can protest, they can voice their opinion, but it should be done in obviously a way that's acceptable for everybody. So we've all got a part to play in as far as being responsible on the field of play, to control the game, to respect the game. But I think there's many things that we can all do to help the situation, to help refereeing. Education is a massive part of it. Has been mentioned before, and we really have to try. The authority, everybody's got to put a lot more effort into actually trying to improve the situation for refereeing. It does appear at the moment things are drifting, and the danger is that it's going to drift even further and become unmanageable, which will be terrible. I think, as I said, the senior game on a Saturday tends to look after itself. Yes, it's not ideal. There's some problems. I think where the focus really has to come down to is the Sunday morning with the county FAs, with support from the FA. Mainly, a lot of the work that's done on a Sunday morning is through the leagues. and the leagues take a lot of the responsibility of controlling the referees and obviously helping the situation. And you know, trouble is, a lot of those people are just giving up their time to help run a league and providing football, and don't always want to get into the nitty-gritty of setting up a lot more systems or support mechanisms for referees. But I think it's a case that we're going to have to. I think there's got to be a lot of leagues that have got to be looking for people that have been in the game, who are prepared to give so many hours to help mentor referees, to help focus them and take them, you know, to games on a Sunday, to nurture them through. For me, I never refereed youth football, because I realised and listening to all the things that went in the past, that was the biggest problem area for referees, because of the parents and their abuse and so on and so forth. So starting a young referee off in senior football, where you can have mentors, where you can have people that are there to act as a supporting role at the end of a telephone and things like this, seems to be working to a degree in our area on a Sunday. But I'm not sure what can be done at youth football, which I think is the real bugbear of a lot of younger referees coming through, to be able to cope with those parents abusing them. I don't think, nobody would be ready for that. Even some more senior referees who are doing youth football must find it very challenging as well.
Yeah,
so
Steve, it is very, very challenging at youth level. And I think you're right that that is the area where it is the most challenging area for me, because at the moment you've got on a Sunday morning or a Saturday afternoon at the lower levels. Right now, I went to watch. I've seen 4 or 5 games this season, and the teams, to be fair to them, are very happy to have a referee.
of course,
Yep. So they're very happy to have a referee. Where I find the referees feel more nervous about going out is, as you say, is knowing when they've got all the parents, brothers, sisters, dogs, cats are all watching on the side on a Sunday afternoon in their under 14 game. So yeah, I think this is something that we need to look at more and more. And it is
maybe we should have a stipulation that youth football is actually refereed by personnel from the teams. So therefore, the clubs will understand and have more responsibility to understand that, you know, I'm doing this as a referee, but all these people who are supposed to be supporting my club or our players are actually abusing me when I'm part of this team. And I know it's sad to say, but we should all have proper referees everywhere, of course. But if it was
funny you should say that, right? I refereed a game for my club when it was at VCD. I was the first team manager 2 years ago for my kids team that were under 12s. After the game, one of the opposing spectators sort of gave me a bit of abuse, and I was like, yeah, right. Didn't know who I was. Got home that night. He tracked me down on Facebook and sent me a threatening and abusive message.
scary,
Right?
isn't it?
So that was me as a manager. So I reported it to the KCFA. Didn't hear anything back. Okay, but there was quite a pleasing thing for this story. 6 months ago, I went to take my other kid to a game, and this fella was there. So I went up to him and went, there you go, right? Because I'm quite forward. Absolutely melted.
Yeah, I bet.
Melted.
Yeah.
Ran, he'd seen me and went. But that was me as like I said, so I've done it as a, you know, I'm a first team manager, whatever. And I've still got the mission. I've kept it. Always will keep it. And
Great behind the keyboard, aren't they, Keith?
But nothing happened though. Nothing happened, even though I was supposed, because I wasn't an official referee then as well. Whatever, you know.
It shouldn't matter, Keith.
It shouldn't matter, but nothing happened. I didn't get a response or nothing back.
I think that's very poor. You've put yourself in a position to referee that game. You've got abused. You've reported it. God, you've done more than quite a few, to be honest. And you know, and if for something not to happen, that's incredibly wrong for me.
Yeah, even if you wasn't a qualified referee, you had every right as the designated referee on that match to put a disciplinary sanction in or a report in, and you should have had at least an acknowledgement, which is poor. But
I mean,
I just think maybe there should be a period of time where for youth football, it's someone associated with the club or a parent should be the ones refereeing these games. And then maybe they'll have some self-control within their own clubs. I don't know.
I mean, does the actual, one thing that I suppose on a positive note with refereeing, I suppose for me is, does people go, oh no, here he goes again. But with the actual, with the likes of Caroline Barker and all these people now presenting, WSL on what I'd call mainstream TV rather than BT Sport, but actually on Sky now, and you're getting to see it on there. And I would say sort of 99% of those games that I've seen live and games that I've actually seen this year have been refereed by lady referees, lady linesmen as well. There's probably only been one game, maybe two games that I've seen that's had a male there, compared to when I used to go and watch it live myself. Used to always see a man sort of refereeing the ladies' game. Surely, and even in step 3, we had a lady referee our FA Cup. Step 4, I'm promoting us. Step 4 game at the weekend in the FA Trophy. We had a lady referee there. We've got a favourite on this show as well. That's referees in WSL, etc., etc. Does that not open up another avenue? I suppose that this time, sort of maybe 5-10 years ago, you hardly saw a lady referee, maybe other than someone like Charles Massey or somebody around those sort of lines. Surely that now has got to be a real bonus to the refereeing game in general, that we've got so many young ladies getting into refereeing and actually making a good job of it on national TV as well.
Yeah, you've got the female pathway now, which has been created, and also this season the top female referees have been brought into the PGMOL as well. So they're making strides with the female game and the female officials. And I don't mind saying I was full official on a WSL game yesterday. I thought the referee was absolutely fantastic, to be perfectly honest. And it's nice to see.
My concern, Scott, is, like I said, the women referee, and I was going to ask you this question because there's a couple of very, very good referees in Kent. Kirsty
Dow.
Her name, Kirsty Dow, and another young lady that.
Lou Saunders.
I've got a name. Lou Saunders. Okay. Yeah. Look, very good referees. Now, if obviously, and I asked these questions to some managers as well. I said, listen, when Kirsty's refereeing you, all of a sudden, and the players, they don't run up to her and go, yeah, they stop, right? And then they appreciate it. So you sit there and go, well, hold on, what's that? My concern is going right the way back to what I say. This will be fine until maybe 12 to 24 months. And then all of a sudden, then people again, they will start abusing them. They will start, and again, there's abuse because there's going to be a lot of referees going, Keith, you're a bit too far. Having a go at someone, whatever, the opinion is different. I'm trying to say physically, properly, like getting into them, or on a Sunday, there's one's going to get hurt. Until that happens, and then all of a sudden the FA might go, right, we need to stop this. But what I'm trying to say to someone like yourself, Scott, how do we protect people like yourself, Martin, the young referees first on a Sunday before this will happen? Because it will take something like, again, a lot sexist, a woman being hurt or someone serious till someone does something properly.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, often it's a big
answer.
Sorry, Scott, carry on. Sorry.
It's quite a simple closed answer for me. I don't have the answer.
No, I'm with you. I really don't have the answer to that question. And I wish we did have the answer to that question, because we need the answer to that question.
Why don't we put it to the viewers for the people to comment on it and see what they say to it?
Yeah, because we're stuck.
Like everything else in our game, unfortunately, it will need some tragic incident to get people to sit up and take note. And we've got to be cuter than that. We've got to keep chipping away now to try to prevent this tragic thing happening. And unfortunately, there will be a lunatic who does something, God forbid, but we hope it doesn't happen. But referees are the centre part of the game, unfortunately, not respected as they should be. I mean, I think we need to put it into perspective. There's an awful lot of clubs, there's an awful lot of players who do respect officials and do their very best. Everyone's going to have a disagreement, but there are a few out there, unfortunately, that just take it too far. And they're the sort of people that do need to be taken out of the game where possible, through county FAs, through the FA suspensions and long-term suspensions. to protect the refereeing fraternity. And we do need to encourage, I think the pathway there now for professional referees is there for all to see. I think the young people, I speak to a lot of referees, they want to get up to that level. And I think there is that determination to do that. But whether they've actually thought through about what's going to happen on the journey to get to that, I'm not so sure. But we do need, and there are a lot of mentoring systems, there are a lot of coaching systems in place, but again, more on a Saturday and more of a higher level. But it's not, and the trouble is the clubs expect a high level of referee on a Sunday morning, which they are not going to get. You're going to get all sorts of different types of referees on a Sunday morning. You're going to get some who have been there, seen there, done it, got the T-shirt and just happy to go out and referee again. You've got guys who are just starting out on their pathway. They want to get promoted. Someone comes along, they got to do it by the book. That upsets them because last week the guy managed the game and then he didn't. And this is where all the frustrations mount up because they don't realise what type of referee they're going to get each week. I'll be honest, in the last few weeks, I've refereed a few games on a Sunday morning. And what's been spoke about tonight is very true. And I'm not going to mention the team because it would be wrong. But there were guys in that team, young lads, who I'm pretty sure knew who I was, who were determined and would do anything to try to get a yellow card because they wanted me to yellow card them. But you got one team who wanted to play the football, and you got a couple of young guys who have probably been on the drink the night before who were just trying to be clever. And I wasn't going to buy it. And I think that probably made them more frustrated because I wasn't going to come back at them and I wasn't going to make a comment. I just carried on with the game and ignored them. And you have to deal with all those. But, okay, I managed it in that way and end up having just one yellow card. And the next guy who comes along next week who follows me, unfortunately, he's not going to be, okay, this game there's a few guys, but generally speaking, no one says too much because of what I've done before. But I don't think I'm actually helping the guy coming along next week who's going to have all the abuse flying at him right, left and centre. So I've even got to a point where I'm thinking, I'm doing it to help a team out, to help the league, because I still love refereeing. But then you think, is it really worth it? Because I'm probably not helping the guy next week. And it's just a negative effect, which really shouldn't be happening, but it does because of the attitude and the attitude of these players.
Yeah, is there anything we could do though? When somebody goes through the refereeing course, and so I've been through it myself. My daughter has as well, and we went through it on the same course together. But is there anything they could add to that course that could prepare the youngster for that type of abuse? I'm not saying physical abuse or anything like that we've seen today, but if there's when you got the people sort of screaming at decisions they think that the person may have got wrong or something along those sort of lines, is there anything in a something that they could set up in that training, in that sort of training session that could help the youngsters?
It's a million dollar question. I mean, years ago, when we had referees associations, each local referee society had a guy who did the laws of the game and organised a 10-week course to go through all the laws of the game. And then they went to the county, they took their exam and hopefully they passed. But then because they were involved in their local referee society, they were looked after. Now they've disappeared. So there's no support mechanism from a branch referee society point of view. So now when the county FA decide they're going to have a course, they have the course. It's much shorter now from what I'm led to believe, 3 or 4 weeks maybe. And certainly they wouldn't have anything like that discussed. But then they go out in the big wild world. We had a young guy who's 17 who passed his referee exam, who contacted our league and said he wanted a referee. He didn't have enough money to buy a kit. He didn't have all the equipment. And they're just left now. And you're thinking, how are they going to survive? And the things have changed over a number of years. And I think the support mechanism that was in place many years ago has gradually dwindled. And this is why we're probably seeing the problems we are seeing, because there's a lack of support being available for referees, which is really sad.
Absolutely. I mean, I started, when did I start? 2009 with 2021. Once I finished playing at Weymouth, I remember I'm not ready to finish on the football pitch, but I'm finished. And I knew I was finished. And so I got into refereeing. And once I took the course, and you're right, the course was quite thorough back then. But we in Dorset, we had different areas. So we had west, north, south, and we would have a meeting once every 2 weeks, and 15 people would go to that meeting, and they would enjoy themselves at these meetings, and we would talk about things that had happened in the previous 2 weeks or anything like that. That disappeared, I would say, 2012, 2013, and you're right, Steve. Now it's like you pass your course, you're off into the wide world. That's it. Off you go. It needs to be better than that. The way it used to be when I first started was fantastic. I used to really enjoy it. But they're just left to their own devices now. I look at the games Ollie does, and there's very rarely a phone call. He's lucky that I'm injured at the moment, and I can't come up to see him. But if I'm not there Saturday, for instance, last Saturday, his mum will drop him off, or his mum will go with him, and that's it. There's no support mechanism in place whatsoever. So yeah, I think that really needs to change, because it used to be so much better, as you say. We need something like that back in place.
Yeah.
Scott, just obviously a question. You're a little bit younger than obviously Steve and Martin, so and don't take that the wrong way, gents. Okay? But obviously, if you
it must be the Zoom filter, Keith.
Oh, sorry.
Boyish good
anyway. Oh, right, okay. If you was, and again, it keeps going back to some of the points I was trying to make, but if you was going to referee on a Sunday morning now, obviously as a younger referee, what would you want to guarantee your safety? What would you like to, but if you could have anything apart from obviously a taser instead of your linesman flag, what would you like to put into place? Anything the FA said, right, what do you need to make you feel safe?
I'll start with, and you kind of build where I'm going with this. I've never ever refereed a Sunday league game. 2, I wouldn't ref one nowadays, especially not. What would I need? God knows, would I need a body camera? I don't know that. I genuinely would not referee a Sunday game for all the tea in China. I just would not do it.
Again, I'll keep going back to the body camera, and I'm going to let you finish. If you had it, and like you can pick them up for 10, 15 quid cheaper than the kit, would you sit there and think, well, at least I've got that to go back for a youngster, that I can use that as evidence if I was, 1, physically abused, obviously, or 2, obviously something major? Would you think that should be a bit of standard kit for referees at a younger level?
I think it'd be a very good deterrent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it would be a very, very good deterrent because how many people do you see go up to a security guard in Sainsbury's or wherever because they know they've got a body camera on, and you see it on nights out or whatever, and my wife, she worked in A&E, and she said that people's demeanor will change when one of the security guards does that. I don't know the feasibility of getting that in, but if you're putting me directly on how would I feel safe, I would need deterrents in place for me to go out and referee a Sunday game, given however many 100 games I've refereed in the last 10, 11 years. But I genuinely would not do it.
Just so you know, but something that we started with today, I've just seen on here that there has been a response that you were looking for, Martin, from the game at the weekend. So okay. there is a response on there now. It's been posted by Bristol Post, Bristol Live. It's on there. Basically, the manager has apologised for his rant, but has said he's no intention of resigning on there. So there is a bit on there. There's even a quote as well from Mark Halsey stating, "What an absolute disgrace. Football does not need people like this. Thus, every involved in the game for as good of football. I hope the FA takes the strongest of actions possible. But as I say, there is sort of a statement in there. He says, I will apologise for heated words, but that is all it was. There weren't any actions, that wasn't anything physical, and it wouldn't have ever got to that, he said.
I actually disagree with that. I think it would have got to that, and there were actual physical actions, because if you watch, he pushed a player while trying to get to the referee, and it smashed straight into one of the assistant referees. So as much as I understand, he must be very frustrated at his own actions, and as Keith said, it would be embarrassing for him, you know. I do think he just needs to have a closer look at it, calm him, keep himself a little bit calmer in future, and just think. Somebody said, what was it Keith said a minute ago about, you know, we talked about women referees. That wouldn't have happened if it was a woman referee, not in a million years. He just needs to keep himself a lot calmer and a little bit more professional, because I've got to say, Mark Halsey's words, I can't say I disagree. I just don't disagree with his words at all.
Well, listen, guys, I don't know about Keith, but I've been sat here absolutely transfixed with you guys tonight, with Scott and to Steve and to Martin. It's been fantastic having you guys on, and hopefully you guys would be willing to come back on another week as well and have another chat with us, maybe a little bit later on in the season. That'd be fantastic if you guys would be free to do that again with us later on in the year. But a massive thank you to you guys for that, for Scott, to Martin, and of course to the amazing Mr. Steve Bennett as well. And we wish you all the very, very best. And of course to Keith as well, a massive thank you, sir, and all the very, very best in what's going to be an interesting few games for you, isn't it? If I remember rightly, speaking to your best mate at the weekend, it's Gillingham, VCD and Phoenix Sports. You couldn't get a better start if you would have asked for it, could you?
There's no VCD in there, Dave. It's Gillingham tomorrow night, and then obviously, Phoenix Sports was going to be my first home game, and for the other lads, they're all my friends and I coach them, so I'm
Phoenix Sports will be interesting.
Well, you know, Steve. Yeah, you know. So so they will be. Hopefully, they will be cheering me on. Not.
I'm looking forward to following you, Keith.
Oh, good.
Good luck, Keith.
Good.
No pressure.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck tomorrow night. I know it's a big start for you. So good luck tomorrow night, mate.
Yeah, good luck, Keith.
Thank you.
But listen, guys, massive thank you to everybody. Me and Keith will be back next week with another D&K Reposs show next week. But thank you for watching again. Massive thank you to everybody for their contribution tonight. I really appreciate everybody at home as well for your contributions on there as well. Please spread the word about the show, and because this show was absolutely outstanding tonight, and we'll try and get this retweeted and we'll put it out on podcast as well a bit later on tonight. But as I say, a massive thank you to everybody. But until next week, from me and Keith, good night.
Cheers.